Political ideologies. Earlier, we discussed some of the ethical questions central to the history of political theory. As a subfield of political science, political theory examines normative issues relating to equality, freedom, power, and justice. This lecture continues the examination of political theory, but shifts the focus to an analysis of political ideologies. Political ideologies are pragmatic applications of normative theories. Liberalism, conservatism, socialism, fascism, feminism, and environmentalism are examples of political ideologies. Each ideology draws on the history of political theory and seeks to apply the lessons of this history to the present. Thus, many conservatives look to the 18th century writings of Edmund Burke to find solutions to the problems of immortality in politics. Just as many socialists look to the 19th century writings of Marx to find solutions to the problem of class conflict under capitalism. Ideological debates are a fascinating testimony to the diversity of the human imagination. We will examine each ideology by looking at its origins and development. Liberalism. Liberalism is a term rooted in the Latin word liber, which means free. Liberalism advocates liberty, another word linguistically related to liber. The theoretical roots of liberalism can be found in the 17th century writings of John Locke and the 18th century works of Adam Smith. These early liberals are known as classical liberals. In the 19th century, liberalism was modified by theorists such as T.H. Green and Jane Addams. This later form of liberalism is termed modern liberalism. Classical liberalism. John Locke, 1632 to 1704, was an English philosopher who is often credited with being the originator of liberalism. Locke lived during a period of political turmoil. In his lifetime, one king was executed, and the institution of the monarchy was in turn abolished, reinstituted, and restricted in its powers. Despite the disorder surrounding him, Locke's personal life was one of accomplishment and success. He graduated from Oxford in 1656, taught philosophy, and published works on philosophy, politics, religion, and education. In his two treatises of government, 1690, Locke argues in favor of limited government and protection for individual rights. He builds a logical case for both propositions by extensively discussing human nature, the state of nature, laws of nature, and the origins of states. Locke's discussion of these topics culminates in his rejection of the political theory of English writer Robert Filmer, 1588 to 1653, a very popular theorist who supported the doctrine of the divine right of kings. According to Filmer, God gives monarchs absolute authority over citizens. As Filmer saw it, citizens were born into subjection to the monarchy and had the duty to be faithful subjects. By contrast, Locke believed that people created governments by freely consenting to those governments, and that governments should serve citizens, not hold them in subjection. Locke begins his liberal theory by examining human nature. He writes of human nature in reference to what he calls a state of nature. The state of nature was a period of time prior to the creation of governments. It was a time in human history when women and men lived in small groups and communities. And for Locke, it was a very revealing period of human history. What was so important about the state of nature? Individuals living in this state of nature had not been influenced or shaped by laws or political decrees because governments did not yet exist. Consequently, Locke contends we can look to individuals living in this natural state to see what humans are like at their most natural level. We can look into the state of nature to observe human nature itself. If you find it unusual that Locke would refer to a long ago state of nature in his discussion of contemporary politics, recall that Locke was writing before the development of modern geology and evolutionary biology. For Locke, therefore, history did not consist of a very long timeline. In fact, all human history was assumed to consist of a few thousand years. Thus, it made sense to Locke to assume that one could trace back the existing generation to a not so remote state of nature. According to Locke, what we learn from a study of the state of nature is that human nature is characterized by freedom, equality, and reason. Humans are naturally free, born with the duty to submit to no one. That is, in the state of nature there are no natural rulers to whom we owe obedience. On the contrary, each person is naturally equal to all others, according to Locke. Each person is born equally free and equally in possession of certain natural rights. Natural rights are rights we have just by virtue of being human. These rights are an element of our natural human nature. Locke believed that our natural rights include the right to life, liberty, and property. Insofar as each of us is equally human, each of us has an equal claim to enjoy these rights freely.